I have already determined the phases, phase wires, looking at the document of the Toshiba stepper motor driver, and you can see this is phase 1, pin 10, phase 2, pin 11, phase 3, pin 12, and phase 4, pin 13. All these phases goes into the stepper motor, and that's a unipolar 4 phases with 2 windings, divided into half each winding. So each half is energized periodically to create a torque for rotation of the motor. And also I had a schematic which I created. Here you go, which will give us the connector phases, all 6. 1, 2 are the high voltage coming to the power supply, and then going into Toshiba stepper motor driver. I'm not sure you can see it clearly, but here one thing interesting to note: the pin 2, we have to remember pin 2 is also being used for the speedometer, 12 volt ground, and there's some kind of pulse going into speedometer, and we already know that our speedometer is working fine, so we'll be able to confirm what is the actual problem with this this odometer mechanism. Okay guys, before we power up our board, we want to make sure we have everything in place. As you see, the breadboard is getting a 12 volt 12 volt supply, and then this 12 volt is input into the regulator to step it down to 5 volt. Then that 5 volt is fed into the 555 timer circuitry, a stable timer mode, and then through pull-up resistor we are bringing out the pulse, 5 volt pulse, putting it in a breadboard, and that from there it's being fed into the green connector. Circuitry is here with regulator and timer. We have a power supply. Also I've connected the probe to check the pins of the stepper motor driver. We have a power supply sitting here, 12 volt, and then our dear motor, which is under test to see whether it moves, and all the connector is great. It seems like everything is fine, so we're gonna go ahead, power it up, and see what we see. Okay, and here you go. I'm gonna do it right now. Oh, as you see, the motor is moving. We were not expecting it to move, but it seems like it's moving. So seems like there is nothing wrong with the whole mechanism of board, but maybe there is a intermittent problem, or there's not much torque, because I haven't connected it on the odometer, and maybe it don't move, but we'll see. And also we can check, definitely we're getting signal from the the stepper motor driver is working fine. 9:10, so we should, here you go, we are this is showing the pulse coming fed into the motor, phase 1, this phase 2, phase 3, phase 3, phase 4. So it seems the whole circuitry is working fine. These are 5 volt, these are voltage, direct voltage. Also I'm going to check pin 2, which we are expecting a pulse of some kind, which is fed into this speedometer. And here you go, it's a very fast pulse going into the speedometer. And if you guys notice, the motor stopped. For some reason the motor had stopped. For I don't know why. Let me see if I turn it. Oh, it's tossed. So it's not, its response is not stable. See, it's getting stuck. Where the other circuitry, our pulse simulator is working fine as we tested, but it seems like the motor have problem. It has it getting stuck. I have to give it a push. So that's a sign that this motor has some worn out parts, or some magnetism, saturation, magnetize, or some kind of problem within it, and we're not going to diagnose what actually is the problem with it, but it's not responding as we expect it to. But it works for a while and then getting stuck. Maybe the poles are the mechanism inside is saturated, or some kind of bearing, the bearing have a problem. I'm going to leave it running, see. It's moving along fine, but seems like it gets stuck. Let's see if we plug it into our odometer, but it's not going to work. I can feel it's moving still. I'm gonna fix this problem and see. Okay, here you go. I plugged in our motor movement indicator. But definitely motor have some intermittent problem. I can feel it trying to move, but if I give it a push, what we're gonna do, we're gonna go ahead, at least we confirm that our circuitry is working fine. The whole mechanism of this control board is fine, and our simulated pulse is fine. What we're gonna do is take our known good motor and test on it and run for longer time. See how it is behaving. It's like stuck. It's trying to move, but I remember my odometer sometime once a week shows a mileage of 6 miles or something. So sometime it worked for occasionally, and then it quit for a long time. So that's probably what we are seeing right now, this intermittent problem. Stuck is, I can feel it through my fingers, that motor is trying to run. So it's definitely not a stable mechanism. What we're going to confirm, double confirm, use this motor, known good motor, and run it connected the same way and see how its response is.